Director is Sue Bird, UConn. I've talked about this, right? The UConn bias, this and that and the other. Of course, I did a video yesterday. Katie Nolan, formerly of ESPN, formerly of Fox Sports, formerly of NBC Sports, formerly of anybody that will possibly give her a platform.
Zero confidence. Strong words, especially coming from someone who's covered women's basketball for years. And when those words are aimed at USA Basketball's managing director, that's not just commentary. That's an accusation. Sue Bird, a four-time Olympic gold medalist, a Seattle Storm legend, now occupies one of the most powerful seats in women's basketball. And based on what we're about to break down, there's a growing sense that she may be using that position to push an agenda that has far less to do with winning games than people want to believe.
Television screens. And ratings, well, if you don't get them, you're not successful. And look, Megan Rapinoe and Sue Bird platformed this person yesterday, who blatantly went out there and spewed a bunch of BS about Caitlin Clark fans. Simply put. And now, Sue Bird, as part of that same conversation, another clip is...
Katie Nolan. Remember the name, because it sits at the center of this moment. Former ESPN personality. Former Fox Sports host. Former NBC Sports contributor. Spot the pattern. She cycled through every major sports media outlet, and none of them kept her. Ratings consistently dropped. Her brand of commentary, woke before woke was even mainstream, pushed viewers away in massive numbers. And yet, Sue Bird chose to give this person a platform to talk about Caitlin Clark fans. Not a neutral journalist. Not a respected voice in women's basketball. But someone whose media career has been defined by inflammatory takes and audience rejection.
And let's just listen.
For a large group of people, mostly that exist online, it wasn't enough, like, love a player, love Caitlin, love whoever you want to love. But it was simultaneously they had to then say that every player that ever came before was trash.
No. That is not correct.
And here's where it crosses the line. A new clip surfaced from that same conversation between Sue Bird and Katie Nolan. And what Sue Bird said isn't just opinion. It's factually wrong. She claimed that Caitlin Clark fans believe every player who came before her was trash. That's not interpretation. That's her statement. A sweeping claim made by the managing director of USA Basketball. And it's demonstrably false. This isn't about a handful of loud voices online. Every fanbase has those. This was a blanket accusation aimed at millions of new fans, assigning them a belief they never expressed.
Particular player and or team and or franchise and or league that they want to. Okay? Now, what's hilarious is in all sports fandoms, I mean, you've got fans out there that think Josh Allen and Tom Brady are trash. Those fans exist, right? Here's the thing. Nobody thought the players that came before them were trash. No fans came into this league and thought that. What fans did think...
Let's be absolutely clear about what actually happened when Caitlin Clark entered the WNBA. Viewership didn't inch up, it exploded. The Indiana Fever jumped from averaging under 400,000 viewers to consistently drawing over 2 million. Single games peaked at 3.2 million viewers on major networks. For women's basketball, those are Super Bowl-level numbers. And the fans who showed up weren't arriving with agendas. They weren't saying Diana Taurasi was trash. They weren't claiming Lisa Leslie wasn't great. They weren't dismissing Sue Bird's legendary career. What they did was far simpler than that. They were indifferent. They didn't care enough about those earlier eras to watch. And that's the part that seems to drive certain WNBA veterans crazy. Because indifference isn't hate. Indifference is worse. Hate means you cared enough to feel something. Indifference means they never crossed your mind at all.
Those players' histories, blah, 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 and that's okay. That doesn't mean we think that some player is trash. We are simply indifferent to them. Diana Taurasi's trash. No, I am fully aware Diana Taurasi is one of the greatest women's basketball players of all time. And even before I came in to watch and consume, I heard her name. I would see some highlights on ESPN.
Think about it this way. When Michael Jordan ruled the NBA in the 1990s, millions of fans watched only Bulls games. They didn't tune in for the Sacramento Kings. They skipped the Charlotte Hornets. They followed Jordan, and when he wasn't playing, they did something else. No one accused those fans of disrespecting past legends. No one demanded they study Jerry West before being allowed to enjoy basketball. They were simply drawn to a once-in-a-generation player. That's exactly what happened with Caitlin Clark. Fans showed up for her. Iowa shattered attendance records because of her. Those fans followed her straight into the WNBA. And when the Fever aren't on, most of them don't watch. That isn't disrespect. That's how fandom has always worked. Attention is earned, not owed.
Players in this league was trash. No, you guys are simply angry because nobody cares to go back and take in your catalog. Office Space, Michael Bolton. We just celebrated his entire catalog. The WNBA, we don't celebrate their entire catalog. Sorry, we don't. Even now, I'm sorry, I'm not watching any team.
And here's why Sue Bird's comments matter. She's not just a retired player sharing an opinion. She's the managing director of USA Basketball. She has influence over international rosters. She helps shape Olympic decisions. And now she's gone on record repeating a false narrative about the fan base of the most popular player in women's basketball. How is anyone supposed to believe those decisions will be objective when she's publicly aligned with people pushing misinformation about Caitlin Clark and the audience that made this league relevant again?
Fans are simply indifferent to past players. We simply do not care. If you think that's hate, that's your problem. That's a you issue. Because we simply don't care. We're not going back and consuming it. I'm sure you got a few fans that want to do that. Came in and thought this was the greatest league ever after not ever watching it. Sorry, no. It's not. In fact, in a lot of these games, there's some really...
Let's break down what this agenda really is, because it keeps surfacing in every conversation about Caitlin Clark. When veteran WNBA players and media personalities insist that new fans must respect the history or acknowledge what came before, what they're really demanding is validation. They want credit for building something that most sports fans chose not to watch. And that's an uncomfortable truth. The WNBA existed for 28 years before Caitlin Clark turned pro. It featured Diana Taurasi, Candace Parker, Maya Moore, Breanna Stewart, Sue Bird herself, legitimate superstars capable of performing at the highest level. Yet despite all that talent, despite ESPN's promotion, despite NBA backing, the league never cracked mainstream consciousness. Then Caitlin Clark arrived, and suddenly everyone was watching. Not because she's better than Diana Taurasi in her prime, that's not the claim, but because she connected with fans in ways previous players didn't. Her logo threes, her trash talk, her competitive fire, her polarizing energy created appointment viewing. Instead of celebrating that or using it to lift the league, certain veterans made it about themselves. They framed new fans as disrespectful and positioned Clark's popularity as somehow diminishing their legacies. Now, Sue Bird, sitting in a position of institutional power, is amplifying that narrative. Consider how this falls apart in comparison to other sports. Do NFL fans need to study the history of the forward pass before they can enjoy Patrick Mahomes? Should they watch Bill Russell tapes before appreciating LeBron James? When Taylor Swift fans started showing up at Chiefs games because of Travis Kelce, Did the NFL demand they prove knowledge of Vince Lombardi first? No. Sports leagues know that new fans are good for business, regardless of why they showed up. The WNBA operates differently. There's a bizarre gatekeeping mentality where fandom isn't valid unless you've paid your dues, watched games in empty arenas, or can recite the 2004 Seattle Storm starting five. That's not how you grow a league, it's how you maintain a niche product while alienating everyone else. Now, let's talk about the quality of play. A lot of WNBA basketball is difficult to watch. Not all, but some. Spectacular athletes make amazing plays, but there are also games with brutal shooting percentages, sloppy turnovers, and offensive droughts. That's not sexism or hate, it's an objective assessment of the product. Caitlin Clark herself has games where she goes 6, 4, 20. The Fever have stretches looking lost offensively. Fans invested in Clark's journey endure those moments, but expecting them to watch Mercury Sparks on a random Tuesday when Clark isn't involved is unreasonable. Calling them fake fans, bigots, or racists for choosing what they watch is absurd. Sue Bird's position becomes even harder to defend considering the context. Clark faced unprecedented physical targeting on the court last season, flagrant fouls that would normally draw suspensions, veterans sending a message with hard plays, media questioning whether she deserved her popularity. Through all of that, Clark led the Fever to the playoffs for the first time in 8 years. Her fans saw the double standard and defended her, not because they thought prior WNBA players were trash, but because they were protecting their favorite player. Instead of acknowledging that, Sue Bird and other WNBA leaders painted those fans as the problem, twisting it into race, sexuality, politics, anything but the basketball reality. Now, consider the consequences. Sue Bird is the managing director of USA Basketball, with influence over Olympic rosters. She has publicly aligned herself with media figures who traffic in divisive rhetoric and has made demonstrably false claims about Clark's fan base. That's bias, not leadership. The 2028 Olympics in Los Angeles will provide a massive platform for women's basketball. Caitlin Clark, likely at her peak at 26, should be the face of Team USA. But if roster decisions are influenced by fan politics or perceived respect for history, instead of objective evaluation of talent, performance takes a backseat. That would be catastrophic, not just for Clark, but for American basketball. Sue Bird's actions reveal the core issue. She treats indifference as disrespect, failing to distinguish between "I didn't watch you play" and "I think you were bad." That mindset, coming from someone in institutional power, is deeply concerning. Clark continues to dominate, her popularity grows, USA Basketball will soon face roster decisions. If those decisions are colored by the resentment Sue Bird has shown, politics could override performance, and gold medals could be at risk. Where does that leave us? Sue Bird has made her stance clear. She aligns with divisive media, spreads false narratives about millions of fans, and evaluates popularity through resentment rather than celebration. She wields significant power over USA Basketball. That's not objective leadership, it's bias, grudges, and decisions influenced by factors unrelated to winning basketball games. The question now is accountability. Will USA Basketball address the credibility she's compromised, the misinformation she's spread, or will this be swept under the rug while bias continues to shape decisions behind closed doors? Can Sue Bird make objective choices about Caitlin Clark's international career after these actions? Should anyone in her position make false claims about millions of fans? And what does it say about WNBA leadership that this rhetoric is not only tolerated but amplified? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and hit subscribe for more honest WNBA coverage.